Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inner Loop YouTube channel. I'm Lena, the new face of our Author's Corner series, and today I'll be having a conversation with Shaquetta Nelson, who publishes and performs under the name R.E.I.L, about her new collection of poetry, Ashes to Justice. As a content warning to viewers, in order to discuss the form and content of these poems, our conversation may reference childhood sexual abuse and rape. For more Shaquita and more Author's Corner, you can check out our website to find articles, interviews, podcast episodes, and most importantly, a link to purchase the book. Welcome, R.E.I.L. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I'd love to get started by talking about family. So in your preface to the collection, you highlight the first two poems, and I feel like we can't talk about the collection without really focusing in on those first two poems, which are about your grandmother and your experience with childhood sexual abuse, respectively. And you write, through those two forces, those experiences of family, I began to find my true voice. So I would love to hear more about the decision to put those first two poems so early in the collection and how you see them shaping the reader's experience.
First off, the first poem, which is Peace for Peace, which is the poem about my grandmother, my book was actually published on February 13th of 2022. My grandmother passed on February 13th of 2020 during the pandemic. So it was not only a wonderful opportunity, but it was also a wonderful outlet and coping mechanism for me because I remember doing a workshop with Reggie Kabiko actually about 2 days ago, and we were talking about things that make you feel lost. And I said I shared with my 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 students and of course my colleagues, that um, the time that I felt lost was losing my grandmother, and I felt like that piece really helped me get through and really excel and really make a statement, not only for her, but for myself and for the people. Because as a poet, you write, but you're not just writing for yourself. You're writing because this is a gift that you were given from God that I feel like. And I feel like when I tell my story or share my experiences, it's not just what I've experienced, it's what a lot of other people have experienced, but they don't have the voice to really voice that, but they can really understand what you're saying. And I love that. And that's why I write my poetry. That's why I share my story. I share everything. And my mom had asked me to write a poem for my grandmother, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to write a death poem for my grandmother. I did not want to do that. But when I did it, it was like it took me 5 minutes, literally. The first poem of my book, it took me 5 minutes to write it. I feel that's the greatest gift of poetry.
Yeah, the collection really does start in such a place of love and celebration. And that really stuck out to me, especially juxtaposed with the second poem in the collection.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'd love to talk about her testimony a little bit. So, immediately
absolutely.
after this kind of elegy and ode to your grandmother, we get her testimony, such a powerful piece. And in that poem, the speaker approaches their experience with childhood sexual abuse through the third person. So, she experiences this, right? She wanted me to tell her story. This young girl died 4 times. I felt like that line just hit me so hard because it becomes clear that there's a distance narratively between the speaker
Yeah,
and this person who's
absolutely.
experiencing these harrowing events. I would just love to hear a little bit more about the experience of writing this piece.
Me, I'm a woman. You're a female, so I know you understand. Like we go through trials and tribulations, and we walk into trying to figure out who we are as women and trying to basically justify, solidify, and a whole lot of other things of who we are as women, but also not trying to um, really look back into what we've been through. So it's like with that, it was like at first I was like, you don't want to like what poetry can hit. It's going to expose this people. It's going to expose yourself. It's going to expose people. I feel like at first I was kind of holding back, like, but I didn't want people to feel sorry for me through that poem. I wanted them to be able to connect, like because like I told you before, it's not just my story. It's a lot of women's story. It's not just my story. It's so who am I to be selfish and hold back on that? Because there's kids that experience that, but they're not poets. They're not writers. They're not journalists. They're just kids who go through this and have to experience this and hold it in and just process it through life however that they see fit. And I felt like if I don't do it, who else will? I didn't name it Real's testimony. It's her testimony because I feel like it's her. But I don't feel like only females go through that. No, I just wanna help people. That's all I wanna do. Like outside of this interview, like if you call me like, hey Quita, I'm like, hey Lena, like
Yeah.
like people should normalize that. People should normalize being because it takes a village for everyone. I feel like everybody. It's not just with kids, it's with adults too. Like we have to be able to, hey, how are you doing? You having a good day? And that's what my poetry is about. My poetry. I just want to uplift people. I want people to
Yeah.
feel good. I want people to know like when I walk out this house, I'm sexy. Like with my poem "Sexy Redefined," I want people to know, like, oh, can't
Yeah.
nobody tell me nothing. I
Yeah.
don't care if you out the house with a bathrobe on. As
Yeah.
long as you feel internally sexy, that's all that matters. I want with her testimony. That's why I didn't make it like I tried to make it like a transition. Like you can come up from that.
Yeah.
That doesn't define you. The hurt and the pain doesn't define you. You can live and you can be who you need to be.
You really feel that throughout the entire collection, that this is in conversation with you, like the person who's sitting there reading it and, experiencing it when you do perform these poems in person. And I'd love to know a little bit more about, because you mentioned youth and kind of imagining these young people who are going to be hearing these stories and internalizing the act of telling them. And I'd love to know a little bit more about your experience as an educator. How long have you been teaching or working with youth? And then how does your experience with youth inform or impact your writing practice?
So absolutely. So I've been working with Day 8 for about the past, I want to say 4 to 5 years. That I've had like a broader opportunity to work with kids, but I've been working with kids my whole life. Like I love kids, and I feel like when you can connect to a child, I think I try to when I go into my teachings and stuff, I try to think about how when I was a child, like we didn't really, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 32, and we didn't really have these. We had people that really supported us and was there for us. We can talk to, but we didn't know. We didn't. It wasn't set out there like Front Street, like here we go, you can do it. So me teaching my kids, it's like when I open up to them, they think that I'm like 20 years old. I'm telling you, like it's crazy. So they think I'm so young, so they connect with me, and it's like I love it. I really love it. It's amazing. Like I'm telling you, we get kids on the first day. So right now, currently, I'm teaching a summer writing program. I mean,
Mhm,
a summer writing camp, which is Monday through Friday, and then I teach a women and girls camp program, which
mhm,
is every third Sunday of the month. So
mhm.
it's different atmospheres, different characters. But you get these kids on the first day. they're like nonchalant. Oh yeah, no. When I tell you day two, day three, like they're like, yes, hey, yes. Like they're sharing their work. They're like, and that makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good because you give these kids a outlet. You give them something to look forward to because they're walking into it with their if they're 12 between 12 and 18 years old, their parents obviously signed them up for it. But when they come, it's like after the first day, they're like, I want to go back. I'm going back there. That's what I'm going to do. I want to go there. They're dedicated to writing, and it just makes me feel really good.
So the poems in this collection, at least to me, and it seems like, there's a real sense of social critique, which you just mentioned, and also kind of an invitation, right? A call to action. It's not just all negative. Like you said, there's a real positivity and sort of fire lit under the reader in this amazing
Right.
way.
My poetry helps me because poetry is like lately since I think about 2020, I've started journaling. Journaling, I don't. It's no poetry. I just write. And I wish I had the book right here, but on the front of my book, I wrote on the front of the book, I wrote learning how to calm TF down. So and I write every day in there. Like if it's in the morning or if it's at night, and I just write about my day, what I look forward to, or how it turned out, or anything, and I just write. We try to teach them it's not just about poetry. Poetry is just a form of writing. You have different forms of writing. Just express yourself and be able to have that free will to say, okay, let me calm myself down. Because once you pick that pen up, you gonna let loose. Because you're not talking, you talking to you.
Mhm.
And it's like once it comes out, it's like, whoa. And then you read it back, you're like, whoa.
Did
And
you journal when you were writing the poems or the pieces in this collection, or did you start that practice after publishing Ashes to Justice?
I absolutely did. But at the same time, those poems like Sexy Redefined Her Testimony, those are poems written like 15 and 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like this book was like kind of um I wasn't prepared for it. I can't say I wasn't prepared, but I'm just saying like I never day eight, and I appreciate day eight because they gave me the opportunity to be able to publish my first book.
Yeah.
But I never seen myself as publishing a book because I always thought that I was just a slam poet, like
Mm,
a performing poet. So I never thought that I would be able to have the content to be able to publish a book.
What's the most recent poem in the collection?
The most recent is called A Real Man. With this poem, I felt like me and my dad are cool. Like I love my dad, but at the same time, I had to reach to the roots of um, what held me back as growing into a woman and the things that I was going
Yeah.
through. It's called Real Man. It said, I want to know what a real man looks like. I want to know what a real man feels like. And before I go into my next sentence, please know I come with no ill will or bad intentions. So just be prepared to listen. A lot I've been missing. See, sometimes go beyond just kissing. Emotionally feeling starts with distance, like daddy, for instance. Been beyond the instant feeling, and I'm feeling like daddy don't love me like a real man supposed to love a real woman. See, I was a little girl destined for something, but came up with nothing. I know how to be a woman. Thank God for my mother because, but I don't know what love is. See, I'm searching, browsing in the deepest places that got me hurt. Because the second man of all mans don't know my worth, and I can't figure out how you give birth and your conscience don't have a conscience to see that your daughter's hurt. See, I love you so deep that I sink. But now I'm seeing the only way to stay afloat is to know what a real man looks like. See, I want to know what a real man feels like. Like when he hugs me, it it feels like I'm safe and I'm in that space and place that I know what he looks like because it's all that I'll run to. See, I see you run through women after women. Here lies no judgments, but here lies no judge. But what I meant is that you're overruled, and I underruled the measures that you didn't measure up to, what I looked up to. See, Daddy, you had me gladly, but sadly, my image of Daddy figure only got me imagining that Daddy can't figure out what the figure of Daddy is. But there's no way that I'd extend that illusion to my kids. Now the reality is, I want to know what a real man looks like. I want to know what he feels like. I want to understand what feels right. Like, like even if I doubted it, there's no doubt about it. See, I want my father. I want him to bother. Even when I say not to, see, I want you to console me and understand that everything ain't about you. See, I want you to know that I'm your first queen and that I got you. But now I need to know that you get me. See, sadly, I know what a real man is based off everything you ain't. And I learned everything I can because shit, you can't. Well, actually, factually, you can, but you choose not to. And my choice is not to get frustrated. My choice is not to get angry, frustrated, disrespectful, no argue, but make the decision for us both to understand that everything ain't about you. Ironic, them blue skies visualized of your baby girls that kept your days afloat. Them same days rocked my boat, but said I love you so deep that I said, see, Daddy, it was you who had me, made me, but you failed to save me. And it hurts to know that throughout the years of misbehaving, the rebellion, you never figured out that you was my safe haven. But Daddy, as much as I hold you to the standards that I can't fulfill, I must face my own guilt. See, I can't be the girl I wanted you to be. I can no longer create that imagery around the little girl I wanted you to see. Daddy, basically, I'm breaking free because I owe it to me. I know what a real man feels and looks like. And even though my picture don't look right, everything is perfect upon my insight. Daddy, I love you, but now and only now, I know I deserve to live life.
I love this piece so much because it captures that no one is all one thing. There's so much nuance.
That's my motto. Let people live and let people get to know people. Don't stereotype or categorize or look at someone and like I've been to places where I'm 32, a young black female with locks and lesbian. I have people that look at me and they judge me. You don't know me. Life progresses, and I've learned that, and I appreciate that. And that's what my writing helped me do. It helped me think outside the box.
So I'm curious, you mentioned that this was sort of a surprising experience for you publishing your work written on the page. I'm curious to know a little bit about that transition. How did you approach kind of getting these down on paper?
It was like I was overthinking. I overthink a lot. So I was like, I need a comma here. I need, but as a slam poet, it's like you write. I write the way that I write. I write as I read. So if I'm like, um, sexy redefined is, and that like I'll write in those type of stanzas as if I'm performing. So it's not like I'm writing as if I'm writing a book, but
Mhm.
I had the very much supportive day eight with, but it was a very what can I say supportive experience. Like day eight was there. Day eight, they especially Robert Bettman, he helped me as far as editing my work or learning because I know for me it's like proper grammar, and proper etiquette and things like that. But it's like when as an artist, when you're writing, you're not thinking about punctuality. You're not thinking about um, this has to be capitalized or this. you emphasize what you want to put out there. So if I'm like, yes, ma'am, I'm going to write it on my phone or my paper as in capitalization, but it's like you're not writing for those purposes, you know. So that's the only reason why I never seen myself as publishing a book. But during that transition, it was kind of hard because I felt a little stressed because I was like, I don't know, maybe, but
Mm,
I had so much support with this book that it really helped me out. And
yeah.
it was like even me reverting back to different poems that I did like years ago or throughout the weeks or something. It was like I got to read those and it was awesome.
This is the perfect segue into my final question, which is something that we ask all of our authors that we feature on our Authors Corner
Yeah.
series, The Inner Loop, because we're promoting authors who have published with small indie presses. And you've kind of talked a little bit about the support you received from Day 8, which is amazing. And I'm curious to know a little bit more about your publication process. So, how the book was initiated, and then how long the editing process took, and any other sort of milestones or important moments along the way.
Uh, so it really didn't take that long with publication. I met with Day 8 in 2018 at the DC Poet Project. I did come in first place, but I did not accept the offer. But Day 8 is a wonderful company, and I continue to work with them throughout, even beyond the process. So it was like once the opportunity was presented to me for book publication, I jumped on a hands on, and it didn't take long at all. It just was a matter of me giving them the product, and yeah, they were. I can honestly say that they made sure that from the book cover to the print to the poems, the order, everything, it was of my approval, and I really
Mm,
so it was a great for this to be my first book. I really felt appreciated, anointed. I felt um, I felt very good about that. Even down to the book title because I wanted to go for it's a poetic justice, but me and
mm,
Robert talked, and Robert kind of initiated Ashes to Justice, and I was like, that's awesome. I
yeah.
was like, yo, like that's cool. I was like, yes, that's it. Because my niece's name is Justice, so it's like I want to do. I also wood burn, so my wood burn and pyrography collections are named Harmony's Harmony, which is my goddaughter. So I want a name for everything that I do for my kids, my nieces, my nephews, my goddaughter. So my niece's name is Justice. So I wanted Justice and my
Yeah.
um, very, very happy with the support of Day 8. They're awesome. Like we went to AWP in
Hmm.
Philadelphia this past year, and that was an awesome experience. Um, and I feel really good. And the only thing I want to do, I just want to touch people. I want to heal people. I want people to be able to just be able to, if you can look at someone and you can say, I relate to her. She's cool. I can call, but I want to reach the youth, and I just want them to be able to say, like, that girl, Shaquetta Nelson, or Real Miss Nelson, Quita, whatever they prefer. I want them to be able to say, like, she's really cool, and I can talk to her. I want to help the world in whatever way I can. I don't care if you call me for $1. I don't care what it is. I just want you to know that you can call me. You know, that's all it is, and that's who I am as an artist, as reborn early in life. Real, R.E.I.L.
Well, that absolutely comes through in every poem in this collection. And I want to encourage all of our viewers to go out and purchase Ashes to Justice. It's available through day 8, and it's also available at Potter's House in Washington, D.C., in store and online. Shaquetta, this has been so beautiful and inspiring. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your work. And just grateful to have you writing and to be able to read your work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us in the Author's Corner. For more conversations with DC area authors and to stay updated about the latest from small independent presses, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook at The Inner Loop DC and on Twitter and Instagram at The Inner Loop Lit.